Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads, okay? This is the Football Friday pod. Man, how the energy has changed since 2 weeks ago, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's miserable. It's a horrible experience. I need it to change, but I'm going to have to put on a brave face. Now, you could say, bro, this is one of the worst brave faces I've ever seen in my life, and that very well could be true. Quite frankly, yeah, it probably is true, because I'm going to bitch and complain about the last two efforts we've seen throughout the entirety. I'll try and label some of the advantages like you can run on Seattle. Will they run? I don't know. The last 2 weeks have pissed me off. But in theory, you could do it. Here are some numbers about Seattle's run defense. They're 23rd in the NFL in rush yards allowed per game. They're 25th in the NFL in rushing first downs per game. 24th in the NFL in rush yards per attempt. 29th in the NFL in rush touchdowns allowed. So you can do something there, will you? I'm putting my hands up. I'm shrugging. Both shoulders are basically touching my earlobes, okay? Because there's no way that I have faith in them all of a sudden relying heavily with DeAndre Swift. Why should I? Why should I? I've seen Jamal Adams get toast. This guy has lost his mind, okay? He is all over the place. He's a pain in the ass to deal with. He's nonstop blabbering. He's annoying as hell. But I should be able to watch someone expose him, right? I don't know, because I don't trust this offensive philosophy anymore, and that's really hurting me, that I see so many skill position players, but I'm lost because I don't know if I can trust the ideas and the concepts, the long developing plays, asking your quarterback and your wide receivers to make very difficult throws and catches for a majority of the game. We're in a pickle. We're in a pickle. Now, I do want to be open and honest, and I normally don't record a Football Friday pod this early, but I'm recording this Thursday morning. So anything can happen Thursday throughout the entire day, and then maybe I'm missing a talking point. Like right now, the status for Geno Smith, the last I saw was they are unclear. And I really don't care who the quarterback is, because I'm looking more at the internal problems for the Eagles. Like, it is what it is. Whoever's on the other side is on the other side. And you can make the argument, well, how can you not care? DK Metcalf, okay, and Tyler Lockett, and some of the weapons on the outside. If it's Geno Smith, then they can even expose some of those problems in the secondary even more so than a Drew Lockett. And yeah, you're right, but I'm so aggravated with our own team right now that it's hard for me to care. Should I care more than I do? Probably, because guess what? If it is Drew Lock, and Drew Lock is out there throwing dimes and torching Bradbury and torching Slay and torching, and I know Slay's numbers, pass breakup, trust me, ask him about it and he'll tell you. I go to his Twitter and he'll retweet everything under the sun that describes him being the perfect quarterback and maybe even the best quarterback to ever live. Just ask him, trust me, he'll share his opinion pretty openly. But regardless, yeah, it would be even worse if it was some backup quarterback to light the world on fire. But whatever, man. I'm just so mad at ourselves that it's hard for me to get there right now. And I'm telling you, here's the brave face. This is me putting on the brave face. Anyway, I've mentioned this twice now over the last 2 days, but normally towards the end of the show. And if you heard it and you're hearing it for the third time, you can say, bro, shut up. But I'm excited. All right, damn it, I'm excited. My wife, we're going to the hospital tonight to start the induction for our baby girl to get born, so I have to record prior and schedule it out. So that's why I'm recording this the time that I am and then publishing it to go live later. So I'm just saying, if anything does break, if there is an injury report and there's something big that happens on either the Seattle's injury report, whatever, it's just timing is what it's all about right now, and that's where I'm at. But let's go here, okay? And I'm excited to talk to all of you on the Anytime Hotline. I'm excited to react to your thoughts on this. If we were nervous about the spread for the 49ers and all week long leading up to the San Francisco game, I thought Vegas got this one wrong. I said that is so disrespectful. But the maths, bros, the maths. So you better soak it in because they're telling you something, and then they ended up being right. I didn't want to believe it at the time, but there was truth to those statements. Okay, well, if you want to look for some optimism here that's outside of strategy and outside of X and O, well, guess what? The Eagles are -4 on the road in Seattle, which, of course, one of the most dangerous places for us is what's popping up on the schedule now. Maybe that's what they need, though. Everyone hates that stupid Seattle Seahawks logo, and every time we see that stupid team, it always seems to bite us in the ass and give us trouble. Well, of course, when you're dealing with one of the most turmoil you have in your locker room, and when you're going through 2 losses in a row, where now you're questioning what type of, quote, dudes you have inside your own Novacare complex. That's where we are. Fletcher Cox is wondering, I have to dare and I have to ask if we even have the right people in place, and I gotta question them to see if they can rise to the intensity that we need. I thought we knew, right? I thought we knew we had them. I thought we knew we had the dogs. Now we're wondering if we even have dogs. Are these cats? Are they lizards? Are they frogs? I don't know, but they ain't dogs, and that ain't a good way to go about business, all right? If you got a question 14, 50 weeks in, what animals you are, I got some bad news for you. You're probably not as ferocious as you think you are. You're probably not the killer that you think you are. You're not the cheetah in those school documentaries that are running in slow motion, ready to go after the prey, and then they show the 2 animals fighting, and you can see the blood, and it's gory, and they're ripping the heart out of their chest with their teeth. If you don't have that, and you're wondering, oh, do we have dogs? You don't, and that's very concerning. But anyway, I digress. The 49ers, to get back on the spread talk, they were heavy favorites in your house. They said it would be a 7-point spread if the game was in San Francisco. I laughed at it. I mocked at it. Shame on me. Well, then maybe this tells me something. The Seattle Seahawks, they always seem to cause us a little bit more difficulty than we would like to imagine, okay? Over the last little bit of time, it's bad energy. Well, now you're going into their barn, but, the mathing screams Eagles. So take that for what you will. If you want to rely heavily on the statistics, then go ahead and have at it, and we'll see what that means. Okay. Let's tell you about my friends over at TickPick. If you are looking to get some free money, well, then listen to me, okay? It's just that simple. If you want free cash, listen to me right now. Click the link down below in the description. The TickPick link has my promo code already activated, and you get $10 off of your ticket purchase if you spend at least $99. It's the holiday season, so Santa Claus, I don't know why I did that, but go get yourself family members tickets to go watch the Flyers, to go watch the Sixers, to go to an Eagles game live, and their ticket prices are the best in the market. Their ticket prices will beat any of the major competing marketplaces, and they are so confident about it that they guarantee it. If you find the same seats elsewhere at a better price than TickPick, we'll give you 110% of the price difference in form of TickPick credit. And there's also upfront pricing. So no more doing the math in your head to prepare for how much extra you plan on spending on top of the listed price than on other sites. Because the price you see on TickPick is the price you'll pay at checkout, period, end of story. There's no added service fees, no hidden fees or otherwise. So make sure you join the TickPick family and get yourself some money off, people. It's a no-brainer. Okay, the last thing here that I want to note is the D-line has a shot. Will they execute said shot? My shoulders are touching my earlobes again. One fat shrug. I got no idea. They should be able to, but I've been saying shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda for 14 days. The last 14 days of my life has been all of that. And you know what cracks me up? I get this a lot. Bros, I think you're hitting too far of an extreme. You went from this is the best team to ever live, and you boasted and you screamed that they had the it factor to find ways, and they could play piss poor for 3 quarters, but the fourth is there. The game is on the line, and the team has the balls to do it. And then now all of a sudden you're calling them soft, and they can't do it, and you're questioning their toughness. How can you not? How can you not? I'm not throwing away everything that they did do well. Okay, I believe it's in there. You don't do it for as long as you do it and have the Super Bowl run. I'm looking at the full body of work, obviously. But I've never seen them play that awful throughout the 2-year stretch after the first season of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. And now I'm starting to wonder, are they cracking? They went from not cracking to cracking and showing signs. You don't think, and I'm going to use this example again, you don't think that there's questions being asked about Pat Mahomes in Kansas City, even though the track record for Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid is AFC Championship game, is we're going to the AFC Championship game, we're hosting the AFC Championship game, we're 1 game away from the Super Bowl, and you don't think that because they're showing signs of cracking this season, that they're, oh, well, who cares, because we know that they can. Or it's, we know that they can, but we know that it's in their DNA, but right now, it's not. Oh, the refs and Tony lined up offsides. He did line up offsides. Yo, Pat. He did going offside. So shame on you for having the reaction that you did. But yeah, I'm using that as sort of the example here on you're allowed to have all these concerns and ask really difficult questions at times like this, because even the best quarterback skill-wise that we've seen, Tom Brady's the best winner in the world, but in regards to skill set and eye-popping, how did he do this? He's throwing passes over his head like he's Hakeem Olajuwon in the post, but it's going 40 yards, and it's to Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift's dancing in the box. We're asking about that. Like that, the most skilled quarterback ever. So if the most skilled quarterback ever can deserve fair criticism and fair questions, you bet your ass that I'm going to question Nick Sirianni and even Jalen Hurts. No disrespect to Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts. But it's fair. It's all on the table. Okay, with that, let's run to the phone calls and hear from all of you just about the status of where this football team is.
Hey, how you doing? I'm a first-time caller, but I'm not a listener on the podcast. I see you on TikTok, and I'm a New Jersey native right outside of Philly, and I really like what you do.
Thank you.
Going to start listening to your podcast. I agree with some things, don't agree with others, but can I just say one thing real quick? I don't know much. I'm just a regular school teacher, but I will say this. Jalen is a great quarterback. He has all the potential to be a great quarterback. Here's my problem. I don't think anybody trusts this Brian Johnson. Have you seen the last few plays of our last few drives of our offense? It's 2 options, run or throw deep. You can't win that way. What happened to these slant routes? What happened to these screen passes? What happened to freaking running the ball? That's why I'm upset. And that's why I think Jalen would be more successful with a different offensive coordinator. Brian Johnson needs to go, or he needs to switch up the scheme. One of those 2 things needs to happen. Short slant routes, curl routes, where the wide receiver goes up 5 yards, comes right back. Little passes like that. This offense does 2 things. 1, throw deep, and 2, barely run the ball.
You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. The only thing that I'll push back on is when you blame Brian Johnson, it's Nick Sirianni's fault, okay? Nick Sirianni's offense is what we're watching. Brian Johnson's role is just calling what Nick Sirianni wants. All of the issues with schematics, all of the issues on play design, all of the issues with philosophy of wanting to throw the ball deep, looking for A.J. Brown over the top, trying to crush a team with 50-50 balls, and that's your lifestyle because you can barely get efficient with running the ball. It's all Sirianni. So switching scheme and this and that, it's Sirianni. This is what he does. I don't believe that he's very creative. I think he's a great connection guy. I think he's fantastic as the CEO. I think he's got a lot of respect in that room. I think players love playing for him, and that all matters, no doubt about it. I think he can thrive as a CEO style of head coach. I'm not calling for anybody's job. Where he probably needs some help, though, is I think he needs a savvier OC to go along with Sirianni. I don't think that that's his strong suit. There's a lot of coaches out there where their strong suit is X and O. Maybe they lack the connection. Maybe they lack the CEO. Maybe they lack the sort of the relationship side of things, which matters. Like, you want to go to war with these guys. You want to have them so motivated, so ready. You can't lose them when it's a time of struggle. And we'll find out if Sirianni can do that. And I've been on the record saying I think based off of the text messages that went to Derek Gunn, they got out in front of it the best way they could. It's a shitty position to be in, but they did get out in front of it, not run away from it. This is what's happening. I don't, I don't close myself off to any sort of criticism. Let's talk about it. That's a positive. That's a strength of the Nick Sirianni relationship style. I do believe that that's the case, but he needs help. He needs creativity. And someone reached out to me on one of my previous pods, and they brought up the fact that with Shane Steichen, and I want to read it verbatim here because I think it's important. Okay. So we give Shane Steichen all the credit for taking Sirianni's offense and being successful with it. But now you're blaming Sirianni for when Brian Johnson can't take the same offense and be successful with it. Can't have it both ways. And my response was very simple. Sirianni started off with the offense, handed it over to Shane Steichen, who then had a way better feel on it. We're back to Sirianni's mind running the show fully, and this is what we get. Now, maybe both things are true. Maybe Brian Johnson is thrown into this a little too raw for where the expectations are for the Eagles. And maybe Sirianni isn't good with the game plan part of it and the style of offense being ran. I think both can be true. No doubt about it. And I'm probably leaning that way. I'm leaning towards Brian Johnson is also not savvy enough right now, but it's his first go at. He's very young. He's very new at this. And then I go back to them. Why is he here? Because this team wasn't built to go through a learning experience with an offensive coordinator. That's just not the role right now of the Philadelphia Eagles coaching staff. And remember, in years past with Doug Peterson, Howie Roseman wouldn't allow him to hire who he wanted to hire, Mike Rowe. He wanted to stick with his guns. Remember, Doug Peterson at one point said that someone's returning and then the dude gets fired not too long after. And it's like, oh my God, what a disgrace. And then it's like, well, does Nick Sirianni have full leverage to hire whoever he wants? Does Nick Sirianni communicate with Howie Roseman to see if they're on the same page? Who was it that Nick Sirianni said, oh, sorry, Doug Peterson. I'm sorry. I'm losing a little bit here. Doug Peterson said coach will return, but was fired. Was it Mike Groh? Was it him saying Mike Groh? Oh, it was. Okay. Last year, he wanted to bring back Mike Groh as his offensive coordinator and even told reporters that Groh would return. One day later, Groh was fired, and Doug Peterson was hung out to dry, saying he had changed his mind when it was later learned that the directive from Laurie was to fire Groh. I've seen it in the past with this organization, and sometimes you go, I don't want owners getting involved. But what if the owners is stopping the madness? What if the owners are getting out in front of it? What if the owner and the general manager doesn't believe that someone could do it? And they're right. Because if you give someone a free pass, Because I remember at the time, oh, Howie, this was during Howie's time of blah, Howie's time of uncomfortableness. Howie, Lori, Howie, we have an ownership problem. Well, what if Nick Sirianni had more freedom? And this is what we're getting now. We don't know really what happens behind closed doors. I'm just laying everything out there, and I find it funny. That's all. I find it funny. Anyway, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much for tuning in on TikTok and then coming over to the pods, man. That's awesome. I greatly appreciate it.
We can't stop a touchdown. We can't score a touchdown. What does this team go out and do every weekend? If you think we're going to beat the Seahawks playing like this in Seattle, you might as well pack it up. Pack it up. Something needs to happen this week drastic. Either Dasani needs to go, Johnson needs to go.
Dasani? The water?
Or if you want to get real creative and make a statement, Sirianni needs to take a walk. The Birds need to wake up. They have no fight left in them. Howie needs to do something drastic.
What can Howie Roseman do? When you say do something drastic, what do you mean? You think getting rid of the guys now is the move? That's not the move. You don't fire anybody right now. If anything, you could bring someone in as a, quote, consultant. All right, you want to go the Frank Reich route, and that guy's been canned over the last couple years. Carolina and Indianapolis. It seems like his whole entire locker room was running around like a chicken with their head cut off, doing whatever the hell they wanted to do. But we saw him have success here under Doug Peterson. If you want to bring him in, fine. I don't think it can hurt. There's no reason to be fully against it, but there is something that says to the rest of the organization. I wonder if they're trying to hold back the addition of a consultant, because the second that happens, you're already admitting that there's a problem. Now, we all think there is a problem, but Nick Sirianni stands up there at the podium, and he looks at all the media members and the fan base through NBC Sports Philadelphia's live stream and says, we're sticking with our OC. We're sticking with who's calling plays. We got no problem with it. And I do think that there's a sense of belief that you have to commit to, and you can't take the criticism the way that you're getting it from certain fans and certain outlets. You do have to show that we believe in what you bring to the table. There's a reason why you're here. You were hired for a reason. I don't mind it, and I don't think that it's necessarily the time to strip Brian Johnson, and here's why. Because Nick Sirianni's not good at it. Nick Sirianni isn't any better, and honestly, this is Nick Sirianni. What you're getting, Brian Johnson is just the face of what Nick Sirianni loves. You'd see Nick Sirianni doing this every single second. It would be the same play calls. It would be the same exact designs, the same concepts, all of it. Instead of Brian Johnson being the one with the headset on calling in the plays, it's Sirianni, but it's the same plays, the same offense, because all Brian Johnson is doing is using Nick Sirianni's offense that he likes. That's what it is. I don't know if Shane Steichen had more of the balls to go, yo, Nick, listen to me. I got the flow of this thing. I got my fingertips on it. Trust me. And then once you realized how great Shane Steichen was, it was easy to remove Sirianni from the equation because the numbers backed it up. The success and the results were clear. All right. He can do it. All right, he's got a free pass. Nobody trusts Brian Johnson to do it, and that's where we go back to, I think they have a both problem. A problem at OC, a problem at head coach in regards to designing plays. I don't think Nick Sirianni's a terrible head coach. I think he does a lot of great things, but he struggles in a certain area, and his area is play design. There's two ways to look at it. We're talking about an offensive-minded coach being bad at calling and designing offensive plays. Right? Like, what are we talking about here? Is that his job? Is his job to be good at that? But it's hard when guys are making millions of dollars. They're making a ton of money. All right, they're in their early 20s, late 20s, journeyman veterans that are 30-plus years old. It's hard to get everybody to buy in. It's not easy. We've seen a lot of coaches fail, and he is very particular in that area, and it works. He's willing to open up. He's willing to commit to being more than just a head coach. I'm here for you as a human. That works for him, and it's not easy to do. A lot of people fail in that area. There's guys like Josh McDaniels, for example. He is incredible strategy-wise, amazing strategy-wise. The guy, the locker room hates him in 6 seconds. Nobody wants to play for him. He is a disaster. So which way would you like it? Can we find a combination of both? Can we find a combination of both, please? That would be lovely. So I'm just saying, it's not full on, hey, you're trash because you struggle in one particular area. You got to take the full body, if you will. All right, back to the phones. We're not firing anybody, by the way. Howie's not firing anybody. That's not the move. You want to bring in a consultant, and maybe that tells that there's a panic involved, so they're trying to hold off as much as humanly possible. We've seen them do this, though. John Dorsey came in, and he had a consultant role. They've done it before, and I wouldn't be against it. It can't hurt, okay? If you're so fragile, it breaks your confidence. Your confidence should already be broken. I hate to break it to you. It should probably already be broken, and it's more of a wake-up call. Yo, you're not doing well enough. This is us telling you need to improve, and we think this guy can at least help with certain concepts and certain designs, so let's have at it. Come on. We've seen Sirianni cry over this man because he was so disrespected. So let's bring in all the smart minds we can. There's a big difference between being some sort of consultant and an actual coach on the coaching staff, especially head coach, which Frank Reich doesn't do a good enough job of. It seems like it's way too loose at his destinations. Just my thoughts.
Yo, bros, I'm just calling in, man. I really don't know what to say for this Eagles team, man. It is abysmal. It is atrocious. I mean, defense can't figure it out. Nick Sirianni calling these horrible plays. Jalen Hurts looks confused. I don't even know. I really don't even know what to say. I mean, this team is lost. They don't have any juice. They don't know what's going on, man. And I really don't know how we're supposed to figure this out. And shout out to you. You're the best Philly sports podcaster, but I'm just telling you, man, this is a mess. The side needs to go. Sirianni needs to go. I mean, this is crazy, 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 crazy. I mean, we run DeAndre Swift 4 times in the first half, and then when we come out in the second half and we're running, and it's like, bro, it's too late. Like, it's crazy.
I don't understand it, and thank you so much for the kind words. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoy me screaming and losing years off my life because of what this team does to me. But all jokes aside, thank you so much, for real. One of the previous callers brought up some of the design stuff, too. Okay, so Greg Cassell of Inside the Birds, he does an amazing job breaking down film. And this was when Dallas Goedert was out. And there was a play where Stoll was wide open, and it looked like Jalen Hurts looked exactly at his way and then decided not to pull the trigger. And there were plenty of other examples of him being unwilling to commit to letting the ball fly and ripping it out of his hands. And that was on the All-22 from people who have been doing this for a long time, people who have been studying film and covering the league for years and years and years, longer than I've been alive, essentially, okay? So I trust their opinion. Then Nick Sirianni comes out, and he discusses how, well, we have dummy routes, and he's not even supposed to be an option in that offensive play, and he's just there, and he's trying to distract. So now Stoll's the distraction tight end. So we're eliminating certain routes that aren't even utilized. And I get that there are things that are supposed to open up lanes and certain routes that are supposed to have certain defenders go with them, which could open up other areas of the field, right? I mean, to a basic level, I'm aware. You're drawing people to the outsides, opening up the middle of the field. Like, there's reasons for it. But with the team right now that is so heavily focused and so heavily intense on 2 or 3 guys to throw the football to, eliminating guys automatically right from the rip. You're making it so simple for the other team. And the last thing I'm calling is for more of your third options, more of your fourth options, your fifth options. But we need to at least incorporate something. If you just automatically say that's irrelevant from the play and it's not even an option at all because we don't want to overcomplicate it for Jalen Hurts, and then now all of a sudden it's like the defense then just knows it's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That guy's never going to get it. That guy will never, ever, ever, ever see it. And these teams put in a lot of study. They watch a lot of tape. They go to the drawing board all day long, 24/7. They live at their version of the NovaCare complex, and they put in so much time to study what you're doing. Trust me, they got a grasp on things. So if they can sniff it out, think about how much easier it is to defend. We can't be having that. And I'm not saying the difference in winning a championship or not is Stoll or Quez Watkins or Albert O or Zacchaeus. It's not, but it's just the idea of having them filtered in just a little more. You have to at least look in their direction once a game. One throw a game, 2 throws a game to certain guys. Like if Zacchaeus was targeted 2 times in a football game or 3 times in a football game, I don't think that that's the craziest thing in the world. Compared to 0, we can't have 0 of 2 targets. Something to make them at least be a threat. Because if they're not a threat, then we have a problem here. Okay? We have a problem here. And we do have a problem here, by the way. Okay? We have a problem here. They turn the football over too much. It's a hard thing to watch. It really is. We'll take Carmen's call, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Yo, bros, what's good? It's Carmen calling. I want to just give my thoughts on the upcoming Eagles-Seahawks game for whenever you do your Football Friday or our next preview podcast. Look, man, if you ask me personally, I'm not trying to sound all doom and gloom here. I'm expecting us to lose on Monday. I just have that inkling feeling. And it's because I have no confidence on both sides of the ball. Offensively, we have troubles moving the ball. We're having big problems. A big problem all season is that we haven't been able to have success on 3rd and longs. So that's one issue we're having. The defensive side of the ball, man, look, our linebacker and secondary play has been absolute trash. It's been trash. And they have DK Metcalf. And they have some other good receivers. And I know Geno Smith may not be playing, and Drew Lock may be starting, but that's irrelevant to me when I see this Eagles team play.
I could not agree more, Carmen. I love that you said that. Doesn't matter. And I unfortunately, I'm ending on this note. We are so down bad that the other team starting their second quarterback potentially and Geno Smith being out, that's such a huge storyline. That's such a massive deal on the game. But you are so bad because of yourself and just the mentality of wanting to play the sport, being outworked and outcompeted, that we're now focused more on our work ethic than we are anything else. Will they bring it? Do they have the fire? Before we even get to strategy, and maybe it's correlated though, do the players believe? Because guess what? If you don't believe in the coach, if you don't believe in the scheme, if you don't believe that this philosophy can win you football games and it's a long developing play after a long developing play and you kind of understand you're toast prior to the ball even being snapped, well, maybe that's why you're not bringing it. Doesn't make it right, but it's the first shoe to drop in the I'm not believing in what they're selling us message, and that goes a long way, and it can happen very quickly. Doesn't mean it's absolutely going to be a dumpster fire. It just means that this is the first time there's a crack in the foundation, and we'll see how they respond to it. All right, everybody, I love you guys to death. I appreciate it. Remember, this is me putting on a brave face. How the hell did I do? Love you guys to death. We'll be dogging on the next one.